Hello, this is Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com. One of the most common questions I get asked, next to which microphone do you use, is which mic processor do you use and what are these settings? So I'm going to give you my settings. Remember, these are the settings I've found to be most useful for my voice and the acoustics of the room that I'm working in, but I hope they may lead you to choose settings that work well for yourself. First of all, let's start with the mic preamp section. This is the bit that basically controls the volume and also the power to your microphone before it goes through the processor part of the unit. So you set a gain, which is basically a volume knob, and I've set mine just below plus 30 dB. Works well for my microphone in my studio. As I switch on the phantom power there, which powers many condenser microphones, you'll notice a little flash there on the level as a little click usually comes through the processor as you switch on the phantom power. Best to have your speakers off when you do that. The high pass you can ignore, but it sometimes works well if you're working in a room where there might be some effects near you like hum, rumble, wind, or just people talking, but I tend to leave it off because it gives you a little bit more of a dynamic range. In the processing section, these are the knobs that basically add punch and drive to your voice. And in fact, the first knob is called drive. Now I set that at around 3.5. It basically determines how hard the processor is going to crush your voice down so that it's all at one level. And the density knob next door, that decides how soon it's going to release the work that it's done. And I've got this one set at just over 2 for me. The Deesser is an awesome bit of kit, and that will stop the sh and shash and all that kind of stuff sounding really sibilant. What do I mean by sibilant? Well, it's that tinny top-end distortion that you sometimes get on voiceovers. Every voiceover is different, but most sibilance occurs between about 4 kHz and 10 kHz, centered around 6 kHz to 8 kHz. So why, Mike, have you gone for 4 kHz? Well, it's just the sound of my voice. I find the best way to set this is actually to sit in front of your microphone and go sss, and then turn the knob around until you get to a setting that really works for you. And then next door, the threshold, that will decide how hard the Deesser works. If you turn it up too far, beware, because it'll sound like you have a cold, because it'll take off all those and you'll sound like you're talking like this. So make sure you have it set, well, my setting is just under 2. The enhancer, now this is the real beauty of the box because this is what adds a little bit of extra top and bass to your voiceovers. First of all, you've got a bit of low frequency detail, which I like to have at about 2.5. Turn it up any further and you're at risk of your voiceover sounding a little bit muddy and bassy and boom, 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 boom like that. So about 2.5 on the low frequency. The high frequency detail just a little bit further at just slightly over 2.5. But again, I don't like to overuse these powerful features. Otherwise you sound like nothing, like a wispy whisper. So too much high frequency and you'll disappear into nothingness. The final but 2 knobs, expander and gate. The threshold decides at what point it's going to cut out any noise that you don't want to be in your recording, for instance, breaths or external noise. Now, depending on how quiet your studio is, you may want to turn it up or down. My studio is pretty quiet, so I have it set at -30. But if you're in a noisier studio, you may want to turn that to, say, -20 even. And the ratio, again, is simply how hard you want the expander and gate to work. I've gone for 1.5 to 1. And finally, the output, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. That's how loud you want the output of the processor to be. And I've set it just at straight in the middle, 0 dB. No need to fiddle with that one, but you'll know if you've made a mistake somewhere along the line because the red clip light will light up as you're talking if you've set something too loud along the line. And that's it. That's the processor I use on my microphone and the settings to go along with it so you can set it and forget it. The dbx 286s, I highly recommend it. I'm Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com.